Finally.
Thank you.
Sorry. Sorry.
No,
Me and
it's okay.
technology, this Instagram live stuff, I'm just getting my head around it and it keeps chucking me off.
It's my first time doing it too. So every time I tried to add myself or you tried to add me, it kept cutting. It looked like you were denying me.
Oh, no, no, I'm so sorry. I'm sure I'll get my head around it one day, but for now, we're
That's
just,
okay.
yeah, we're here. It's all good.
Going with the
Um,
flow.
Perfect. I just want to just say a little bit about Xperienceships first and what we're doing, just so that everyone that watching can know a bit more about us. So briefly, we're starting up to try and explore careers. We want to chat to students and we want to chat to professionals about their careers, how they got into their careers, what they do day to day, and how current events affecting them. So for anyone that's watching and is interested, if you can follow our account, we do chats like this every day at 4 p.m. GMT, and there's a load of other times, but I don't know all the short codes. But yeah, so if you can check us out every day, we're going to interview some cool people just like Avril. But so today we've got amazing sexologist Avril, which I'm so excited to find a bit more about what you do. I've never ever spoken to anyone that does this or anything similar, so I'm so excited. So could you just start by like introing yourself and a bit about what you do maybe?
Right, of course. Cool. So, sexology is not a field that you hear of every day, right? So a lot of people, when they first hear it, they think, what exactly do you do? So I studied clinical sexology, meaning that I'm able to do sex therapy, research, or I go into education. So mainly what I do is I am a sex educator. So I create workshops and I go to events and I give, personalized workshops or things that I think are important to speak about as far as sex and sexuality goes. And then also I do couples therapy and individual therapy. And this is pertaining mainly to their sex lives. And they're, when it comes to individuals, it will be anything from their comfort in their own sexuality or how they express themselves. And then with a couple, it'll be, the typical or not so typical couple situations of what occurs behind closed doors.
It's so interesting. So, so is it something that you've always been interested in? Have you always been like passionate about it? Like your background a little bit of how you got into this. How does one stumble across the sex industry from your perspective?
Yeah. So basically, okay, so I'm from Miami, Florida, so I am definitely from one of the most sexiest cities in the world, right?
For sure.
What's supposed to be the sexiest city in the world? And so I guess like growing up in Miami when I was 15 years old in high school, me and my friends actually started off creating HIV/AIDS awareness program at our high school. And so what that would do was create kind of like this awareness, this education as far as STIs go, as far as like where can you get tested, as far as having safe sex, what that looks like, what that means, and how can we support that and speak about it to our peers as teenagers. And so that was a really cool, really like a stepping stone for me as far as getting into it eventually professionally. And what that club would do is it would bring in different sex therapists, sexologists, and they would come in and they would speak to our high school. And there was actually one sexologist in particular. Her name is Marilyn Booker, and I always remembered her name. And she was a university professor and sexologist from Miami. And I was really blown away at her ability to speak so clearly, so openly, and also in a way that she could connect with absolutely everybody in the room. And teenagers are not the easiest people to connect with. So
yeah, not at all. No, yeah, it's a hard feat, and especially about the subject of sex. I remember in like my school, everyone just laughed as soon as it was mentioned, and like teachers would try so hard, and it was just there was no way. But to have that ability to go in and kind of take over a room of teenagers is pretty cool.
Definitely. Yeah, that inspired me even as a teenager. And I mean, I grew up in a really Irish Catholic household, right? So the idea of speaking about sex at all in my house was just like a no-go, right? So we didn't talk about periods, menstruation, your body's changing, anything. So it came, going through the Miami-Dade public school system, you're around a lot of different teenagers. We're all talking about things. We're all exploring things with ourselves. And so we're learning from our peers. And so this kind of club allowed me for the first time in my life to actually get real, true, hard fact information, right? As far as like my sexual health is and what I can do about it and how I can take ownership of it. And from a young age, I think that was really important. And so from there, that kind of like stuck in my head, right? This one sexologist who came to speak to me in Miami. 5 years ago, I ended up moving to Spain. Before that, I went to study international relations and political science because I love politics. and sex can be pretty political too. So I did that. I moved to Ibiza, where I taught English for the Ministry of Education here. And then I went back to university, the University of Valencia, and I got my degree in clinical sexology. And before I joined that program at the school, I actually was home in Miami for a little bit, visiting family, and I reached out to that sexologist, the one that spoke to me in high school. I remember her name. I Googled her. I found her. I tracked her down. And
oh, we just lost connection there.
oh, did you get me? Am I back?
Oh, you're back. Yeah, no, you're back.
I started to receive a call.
Oh,
And so she met up with me, and I basically said, hey, look, I'm looking into this program of clinical sexology. Like, what does this mean, and where will this take me professionally? And so she kind of laid it all out for me, what this means, and to hear it from her, the woman who taught me about sex when I was
your inspiration, yeah.
I was like, this is it, this is my jam. So I went back to school, and I did it. I did the program. I did it in Spanish, actually, which wasn't as easy.
Wow.
I'm still learning. And then when I came back to Barcelona, I found out about Sex Academy, which is the company that I currently work for.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that you went, while you were home, you took the time out to reach out to her and yeah, have a chat with her. And like, I feel like it's such a brave thing to do. People don't do it these days. And I feel like that's something that is like really important to highlight, is that you can reach out to people and you can find these people that you want to chat to, and they're going to be happy to chat to you about that industry. People love chatting about what they do, and especially if it's something that really inspires them and they love to learn about. So it's really cool that, yeah, you had that chat with her.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's so important to be able to reach out. I mean, everyone is only a Google search away. If there's someone that inspired you in your life and that you've been thinking of, like, why did this one woman stick out to me like my entire life? I thought, okay, there must be some meaning behind this. Let me have a meeting with her. Let me talk. And I do think it's important for women, especially, to have mentors and to have someone to look up to.
Are you still in contact with her now?
Yeah, I am. That's
so cool.
Yeah, I went to a workshop she gave over the summer, and it's been great because she's getting older, and I know she'll be out of, doing these events eventually, probably sooner than later. So it's amazing to be able to go and hear her speak, and I actually recorded it, and she was wonderful. I just wish I had her flow and energy.
I'm sure you're there. I'm sure you just don't realize it because it's self-critical. But yeah, that's so cool. And I bet that she was like flattered that you even reached out to her and wanted to chat to her and find out a bit more about her. Like that whole process must have been so nice. And for you to guys still to stay in touch now and kind of keep up on each other's journeys and what you're all up to, like being in the same industry, it's really nice to have those connections.
Definitely. And that is for every industry, though. I do believe, especially for women, we need to be lifting each other up and be looking for that next step we can take and, guide us through all of this to see, how we can grow, because it's not as easy to grow, I think, as a woman in any industry. So, supporting each other.
That's so cool. So your so day-to-day life, you say you do lots of workshops and things. Is that with groups of people that you gather, or through your business, Sex Academy? Is it like weekly things that you do, or how does that kind of run, like your like day-to-day like working life?
Right. So personally, my day-to-day working life is I have my own brand, which is Sexology Girl, and then I work for Sex Academy as kind of their international event organizer. So meaning that I lead a group of sex educators back in the United States, starting in South Florida, which is like my hometown area. And so it can mean anything from, I don't know, tweaking things on the website to uploading workshops to figuring out a design for a new workshop. I mean, I wear many different hats as far as it comes to my work. It could be me one day organizing a private workshop about, sorry, I saw we got a question, and I don't know if we should answer it right away or what the rules are.
That's okay. If you carry on for now, and then we can come back to the question in a minute.
Okay, cool. So it just depends on like kind of my day to day. I'm try to stay as organized as possible because I'm also dealing with 2 different time zones. So here I usually start in the morning working on the European side of things, either what I can do here. Let's say I might have a private workshop coming up and it's for a couple who are dealing with some sexual difficulties. So I will then go into that, organize what exactly I'm going to speak with them about, and I might be going that evening to our Sex Academy locale that we have here in Barcelona to meet this couple, or it sometimes brings me to really exciting places like Soho House here in Barcelona where I did a workshop recently. It really depends day to day what exactly is coming up, if it's either a workshop, therapy, and then a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, which isn't as fun, right? So like uploading things onto WordPress and also dealing with social media, answering questions about calling venues to see who will want to host our workshop in Miami next weekend. Yeah.
Yes, it's just lots of different hats, lots of variety. That sounds really nice though. It's like, I think it's like really important to have variety. Well, for me it is. I really like changing it up. I can't stick to one thing for too long. So it's nice to be able to wear different hats and try, different bits out. So as regards, because you obviously work across the 2 time zones, I suppose that's a lot of like remote working. So it's like the current events that are happening now, are they having like a big effect on that like relationship you have with those guys and like your workshops and things? How are the crazy times at the moment kind of affecting you and your work?
Yeah, so it's been interesting because, of course, it's like a global pandemic, so it's going from country to country to country, and everything's are changing. And being here in Spain, I feel the advantage that I did have professionally is that I was able to kind of get ahead of the game. So I was able to see, like, okay, things are starting to close up here. I know America's going to follow through soon and do the same kind of reaction. So I need to get ahead of the game and speak to the educators and say, hey, I don't think we're going to be able to do March and April's workshop. So, you know, we're going to have to move them back, one to May, one to June. And kind of
you kind of got that heads up to like start a bit early, planning things and kind of getting things in place.
Yeah, and everyone was really cool. It just takes a lot of communication and just being open and saying like, hey, things are looking like this here so far. We've had to cancel our workshops here, so maybe we should consider doing the same there. And everyone, you know, what's cool about working in the sex ed industry is everyone is so open-minded, usually very knowledgeable, extremely, you know, just, I don't know, educated, if you could say, about like, you know, what's going on, and they're realistic. And so that was cool. And then as far as work here goes for me personally, I've been pushing moving things online. So naturally, I'm a pretty big introvert. So I was like, oh, nice. Like the whole world is on my level now, you know, like everyone is feeling at home with themselves. Wonderful. And so I started to make the moves of moving online. So that meant recording workshops that I've done in person without an audience, and being able
very
to,
strange.
yeah, in my living room.
Yeah, it's strange not having people to like bounce back off, isn't it? I can imagine it's a bit, it's difficult.
It cut a few minutes off for sure, because normally I like to stop. I make it a little interactive, you know. I think it makes everyone feel comfortable. But now more than ever, I feel like is the time to be innovative. I feel like we spend so much time behind our phones, behind screens all day, every day anyways, that we might as well be realistic about it and say, you know, people are comfortable behind the screens. And especially when it comes to showing up for a sex education workshop, whether it be on how to talk to your kids about sex or a workshop on orgasms, right? People are more likely to want to show up when it's going to be online than in person. I can't tell you how many messages we get asking us, like, what is it like? What exactly happens? Do we get to keep our clothes on? And you're like, what do you think we do? Like, so it's been interesting, but the whole time I've just been thinking of ways that we can work with how things are right now. I wrote a couple of articles for different sites about what it would be like to survive in your relationship as you're stuck indoors with your partners, how to survive as a single person, you know, with all these desires. And I think it's been really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of questions about the whole subject of like, we're all locked down, like how like people aren't used to spending so much time with their partners, or they're not like used to being away from their partners for so long. Like I think people, yeah, are really interested about that side of things and how what we should be doing and how we should be focusing now. For sure. That's really interesting. But so some of your work is remote, so can you do some, so do you have like a couple sessions like through the screen that you can do and things? Is that something that you guys offer?
Yeah, definitely. Me personally, on my own brand, I kind of started this initiative about 2 weeks ago where I opened up to do free sex therapy. So I would be meeting with couples or individuals to kind of change things up and also to warm people up to the idea of having therapy. And what is sex therapy, right? Because it sounds a little intense, but at the end of the day, it's having a conversation with them and finding out what's going on, what their issues are, and then finding tools and ways that they can apply at their own time in order to help them through these moments. And so that's been fun for me personally. It was really great, and I'm super happy with the people that reached out to me and that I was able to provide these services just to make people feel like, you know, they can work on themselves while they're stuck at home. And that most of the work, it all comes from within, right? So we feel so distracted. We're all running on like high pace all day, where it's kind of nice to sometimes slow down and say like, okay, what's going on here? And what are some issues?
Yeah, and I think bringing another person into the conversation, so yourself, for example, is probably going to be really helpful for quite a lot of people to just get that conversation started and things like that.
Yeah. I think so too. I think having a third party, especially as a couple too, you want to make sure everyone feels heard and no one feels attacked. And also that you feel supported. And then you can use those tools. And like you said, having a third person, is having someone who's not going to tell you, you know, you're right or you're wrong, and not make you feel uncomfortable at all. So it's been nice. And I think it's been a great social experiment, keeping all these couples in close quarters.
Yeah, 100%. I think within like maybe a couple hours of the lockdown situation, I had so many people be like, that's it, everyone, like the baby boom is going to come 9 months ahead, like watch out, everyone's watching. But yeah, for all those people that are stuck at home. And then equally, I've also got a lot of friends that are now not seeing their partners for a good couple of weeks and are like, I don't know what to do, but I'm not allowed to see them. Like it's like stressful times for both sides, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's people from opposite sides of the spectrum. Either they're worried that they're going to kill each other, or they're worried that they're not going to make it through. And I think this is really unique time for technology or doing things like this, collaborating, reaching out to others, reaching out to each other is so important. And to know that we're going to make it through just fine. And then life will be normal again eventually.
Hopefully not too long, cross fingers. So I just want to jump back to Neil's question. So he said, in the industry, what's the split between like male and female, as in people working in the industry? So people like yourself.
Right, as sex educators or sexologists, I would say, I don't know the cold hard facts about that, but I'm going to make an assumption that there might be more females than males.
Okay. Do you think there's a reason behind that?
Good question. I think that there are professions that are just a bit more of a heavier female presence than male presence, and I think it might come down to communicating well, listening to your emotions. We're a bit more emotionally in tune. Some of the times, I'm not going to make a blanket statement, but yeah, that might be why.
No, we like to talk a lot.
Oh, we love.
I think that helps. We also put out on our Instagram for some questions earlier before the session, and we had a few. I'm just going to get them up. I've just got them to the side of me a second. So someone asked, being with my partner 24/7 might make me want less sex. Can you help?
Yes.
So what's your advice right now, right in the moment, for people that, might not be used to spending so much time together and now working together, living together, eating together, sleeping? What do you recommend?
My goodness, I couldn't recommend enough, and I keep repeating the same things over and over again, is definitely space, personal space. You need your space. You need your alone time, whether or not it's erotic or not. You need to be alone. You need to be able to close the door between you and your partner every day. Have that time to yourselves, whether or not it's you calling your friends, your partner calling their friends, playing on the PlayStation, whatever it is that is your release and your time away. You need to take that, because there can be some times where we're going to start to get, it's going to get tense, right? And the best way to deal with that is just to create that space. And the main issue here is desire, right? So when you desire your partner, it's when you really, really want them, right? It's like that beginning feeling where you're just like in that honeymoon phase. You want them all the time. You want them next to you. You want to go everywhere with them. And then after a while, in a long-term relationship, we see desire kind of fizz out a bit. So how do we start to want our partners again? And that's something that we each need to explore ourselves. Either it could be scheduling sex time, which is not the sexiest thing, right? We call it maintenance sex, and the name sucks, I know. But it's kind of just prioritizing your alone time with your partner, and after having that time apart. So that could be something that couples can try, especially these days where everyone's saying, even though you're working from home and you can sit in your socks all day, try to get dressed, try to keep scheduled, and to work out. I'm like, well, why don't we schedule sex in there too? So just prioritizing each other, but then also respecting some space. That's important. Yeah.
I think that's so important for for everything, not even just sex, but just having your alone time and being able to be in your own company. For couples, it must be really hard right now. Yeah. So then Andrea said, do men struggle talking about sex? Do you have many men clients that you speak to regularly? Is it more female? It's a mix.
How does that work? It's a mix. And I would say I'm more surprised that it's mainly the men who actually reach out for the help. In my experience.
Interesting.
So I think it's that, it's, in my experience I've had, don't worry, I know you're not laughing at the I saw a comment. No, it's a mix for sure. I think that men, in my experience, heterosexual men who come out and want to speak about their partners or go into couples therapy, they're the ones that are kind of looking for solutions. And I really respect that. I think it takes a lot to really show up, make that appointment, contact people, and kind of get vulnerable for a moment and try to figure out these solutions, because there are always solutions to work for between you and your partner or within your own sex lives, whatever you're going through. But taking that first step takes a lot of strength and courage, and I really appreciate that. So no, not in my experience. Guys have been very, very open, very curious, and I like that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's cool. I can only imagine the interesting conversations you've had with people through your through your work and everything. It's just such a cool, different, quirky industry to work in. I really like that. So before the interview, I sent you a few questions, and I just wondered if we ask everyone on the coffee chats to give us 3 Instagram accounts that they recommend we follow. either from their industry or that inspires them. And I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about them, if you've prepared them or not.
Definitely. This was really exciting and really hard. I actually wrote a list of like a few more, but I tried to think about it. Because I want
We
to
had
see
a
like,
few chats and quite a few people, everyone's been like, I don't know how to just pick three. Like, there's so many cool things going on out there. Like, three is so short. Just three.
yeah, it's hard because I think sexuality is so fluid and so diverse, and so I really follow a bunch of different accounts to really constantly learn about my industry and learn how much more I can bring to my workshops or presentations or therapy. So I'm constantly learning and absorbing from these sites. So one of them I really like is called Sex Positive Families. And I like that one because they talk a lot about a parent's approach to how they can talk to sex with their kids, when and how, and they also debunk a lot of myths on there too, a lot of sexual myths. So I really, really appreciate that site. Another one that I like is I Heart Erica. It's like IHARTERICKA. And she is a sex educator from the United States, but she also talks a lot about gender, social issues, and I really appreciate her take on everything. And she is just so well educated and so well spoken. And I don't know, I like her too. She's very sex positive. And one more, Sex Academy? I'm kidding. I have Sex Academy, of course, because we do local workshops here in Barcelona, Sex Academy International. We do workshops in the United States, and we're constantly expanding. And another one I really like is Unbound Babes. They're kind of a bit of like a sex toy retailer, but they also speak out about, issues and sexual issues, desire, what it means to be sexy, and it's for the normal average millennial girl, right? And so that's kind of like a really fresh take on what it means to be sexy, and not those beautiful, perfect Instagram things that we scroll through all day.
Yeah, for sure. I just can't wait to go on Instagram now and check all them out. I want some positive sex thoughts on my on my timeline. That would be cool.
Yeah, there's some great ones out there. I mean, there's so many. Hannah Witten is another one that I really like. She's a disabled woman who also talks a lot about sex and as for a disabled person. I don't know. Sorry, I could go on and on, but
so many
followers who I follow on my account, and you'll find some.
We'll definitely be checking them out. We just had another question. So, are there any books you recommend for teenagers to teach them about sex? Is there any specific websites or books, that you direct people towards?
Yeah, I really, really like the curriculum that the Population Council has put together, and it's actually free and available online. And it's in Spanish, English, French, Arabic. Like, they've been really good about translating it. And there is curriculum, like guidelines, which is really great. I guess it's a bit educational, very strictly educational. But I really like that. If I think of any more, I'll make a post about it, because I do have some resources written down I would love to share that I can't think off the top of my head. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah, that sounds like a really nice resource though, and especially to have it on all those different languages. That's really accessible, and online is the way forward at the moment, obviously, with this current situation. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've just got one more. I wanted to bring this one up as well, and someone's mentioned it too. So during the whole coronavirus thing, it was made known that a few countries, it was like Pornhub was made free, the subscription. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, and whether you think it's a positive thing, is it like a marketing thing? What you think of that one?
Ooh, that's a good question. All right, so I nothing against pornography. Pornhub really knocked it out of the ballpark with that one. That was a good one.
It's really interesting to hear all about your industry, all about the sex industry, because while you're talking about it, the more you mention and the more you like about these, so like there's the big dogs like Pornhub, and then there's like the independents, and there's all the different roles that you can have in it. It's just, it feels like an industry that not many people are very aware of or very into, but it's so similar to many others that are just everyday industries that you wouldn't even bat an eyelid at, or everyone just grows up knowing. So it's really interesting to be able to talk to you about it, and find out a little bit more.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's always been perceived as something that's very dirty, very taboo. We don't want to touch that. We don't want to follow these sites, because in reality, the way that sex and has been marketed for so long is just these like hot, sweaty bodies and stuff. And I do believe it is nice, like as you can see in my own profile, is to take a really fresh, educational, and clean tone to it, clean, right? Because we want people to follow, we want people to educate, we want people to see things and read things and, improve their sexual health and their sexual well-being, while also not being afraid to be following these people out in the metro, scrolling through.
Yeah, it's so true. It's been awesome to chat to you. I could keep talking for ages. There's so much that I feel like you could bring to the table. It's really cool. But hopefully maybe in a couple of months, maybe when things die down a bit and things have changed a bit more with the whole everyone being in lockdown, we could have a chat a bit more about how your everything's going remote, and all the like remote working that you're doing, and the different things you're doing in your industry right now. It'd be really cool to get you back on.
Awesome. I would love that. I would love to come back anytime and talk sex.
It'd be perfect. Thank you so much for coming. It's been amazing. It's been great. Thanks so much.
Thanks to the viewers too.
So I just want to say, guys, thanks for coming to check out. It was a really cool chat with Avril. I could chat to her for ages. She's so interesting and different. So just from an Xperienceships point of view, we have these chats every day at 4 o'clock. So if you can pop onto our channel and give us a follow, you'll get notified. And we've got lots of cool industries and students that we're going to be interviewing to find out what everyone's doing in these crazy coronavirus times, everyone being at home and all that. Make sure you're following. There's a link in our bio to sign up to our newsletter and stuff. Thanks for coming, and have a lovely afternoon in your homes, whatever you're doing. Thanks. Bye.